On today's episode of the Wild Party Podcast, I'm speaking with Stacy Grace, the co-founder and CEO of Kent, a company creating everyday essentials made entirely without plastics or synthetics. In fact, you can literally plant them in your backyard. In this conversation, we talk about the hidden plastics in our clothing, why natural fibers matter for both our health and the planet, and what it takes to build a circular fashion brand from the ground up. Stacey shares her journey from studying sustainable fashion in London to launching a plastic-free underwear company that is challenging the entire industry. If you've ever wondered what truly sustainable fashion could look like, this episode is going to change the way you think about what you wear every day. Let's get the party started. Welcome to the Wild Party Podcast, where we celebrate the visionaries behind vegan, ethical, and sustainable business. In each episode, we'll dive deep into their journeys, uncovering the why behind their mission-driven business. I'm your host, Stephanie Lahart. Tune in with me for passionate discussions about overcoming challenges, innovative marketing strategies, and the power of using business as a force for good. So whether you're an entrepreneur seeking guidance or a conscious consumer wanting to support impactful brands, join us as we explore the stories behind the businesses that are changing the world for the better. Let's get the party started. Today on the show, I am so excited to speak with Stacy Grace. She's the co-founder and CEO of Kent, a company creating everyday essentials made entirely without plastics or synthetics. Instead, Kent garments are made from 100% GOTS certified organic Supima cotton and designed to return safely to the earth. In fact, you can literally plant them in your backyard. You guys, this is true. I have seen the videos. It's crazy. Now, through Kent's Plant Your Pants initiative and compost take-back program, these garments can break down and return to the soil in about 90 days. We have talked about this endlessly on the show about my fear of throwing anything in the garbage anymore. So this is really just aligning perfectly with all of my inner fears and things that I need to do now in order to keep living. So Stacey is really helping reimagine what circular fashion can actually look like in practice. And we're going to hear all about her journey right now because literally, Stacey, I feel like you're inside my head, girl. I can't wait to hear how you figured it all out. So Stacey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
Stacey, like I said, I have a fear of dumpsters these days. I really do. Every time I hear somebody say, I'm going to throw it out, I'm like, throw it out? Like, where do you think out is, right? And that includes our clothing and our garments and fabrics. And people don't really think about that, but obviously we live in a society right now where we can't go naked. Okay. So we need clothing. And something like undergarments are something that you have to replace fairly regularly. It's just how it is. There's no getting around that. Who doesn't like a pair of fresh, clean panties? I mean, it's actually one of the most requested things in homeless shelters, that and socks, right? So here's a big problem. We need endless amounts of undergarments, and they're not always good for the earth. And you come along and say, I can fix that. Take me back to the beginning, Stacey. Where did this all come from for you?
Well, the idea originated, I was doing a study abroad in England, in London, and I was doing my master's in sustainable brand marketing and at the London College of Fashion. And this was 2009, so I'm kind of dating myself, but sustainability in CPG environments and apparel was really rising up. And I saw that a lot of different fashion brands were trying to address it in different ways, except for underwear. And I think because the rise of spandex, nylon, elastane really took over that category since the 70s. And it was seen as this like miracle materials that could help stretch and fit on any body. And while potentially that is true, there's also so many downsides. And so kind of seeing that, observing it, and working with a number of different sustainable fashion brands, I really just thought to myself, there has to be a better way. And so it wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles a few years later and saw the manufacturing sector, met the right people that could help bring this vision to life.
You make it sound so easy, and we know that is not true. All right, let's just go back a couple of steps there. So you said you were studying over in England, which, girl, I did, and you. I'm going to date myself here. I was in London in the 80s, totally changed my life just running around on the underground, meeting boys in clubs. It was fantastic. So, with that said, you're over there studying. What part was it about your studies that really made you start even thinking about this? Because again, this is not something people are really aware of. Like you said, the plastics and stuff in our clothes. And you're right, with the advent of spandex and nylon, we all thought like, oh my God, life couldn't get easier, which in a way it couldn't, but it couldn't get worse as well for the environment. So what was it over there that you were seeing or experiencing or learning that really made you start thinking about this is something that I potentially would like to focus on?
I think it was meeting. I actually interned for a luxury organic silk brand at the time. And really, I think getting the exposure to materials, I was coming at it from the business perspective. So I was always in either brand marketing, business strategy, but working one-on-one with the designer at this luxury lingerie brand allowed me to have exposure to the importance of materials. And I think that's where understanding how important natural materials are, especially those that sit next to your skin. And so I started thinking about like, okay, what is the best material for an undergarment that you are wearing all day long and it should be breathable, um, but for the longest time, and I myself, I couldn't find 100% natural options. And so I think it was probably the culmination of working with these brands, me getting a better handle on the importance of natural materials, and then eventually putting the pieces together for my thesis. At my master's program, I did a small capsule collection of natural undergarments. And I think that sparked the initial idea like, okay, I can actually bring some of my own ideas to life in an actual product setting. And I always remember this one thing that my mom used to tell me when, and kind of like full circle moment. I remember my mom when I was younger saying, you should never stay in your bathing suit all day long because the risk is very high for causing infection and bacteria. And then I remember like thinking, okay, well, what is a bathing suit made out of? Nylon, elastane, polyester, and then look at what our underwear is made out of. Nylon, elastane, polyester, because it restricts any type of airflow and it promotes bacteria growth. So from a health perspective, just it was obvious to me that this was something that needed to change. And then for my sustainable business mind, it also felt like, okay, we're using materials that are derived from petrochemicals that stay and shed microplastics in our waterways and that take 200 plus years to actually disappear. And when they do disappear, it's not a net benefit. It's a net negative because they're polluting the soil that they end up in, or landfill. So it just felt like, okay, there's a lot of different reasons why a like plastic free option needs to exist. And it just made sense for me to start putting time and effort to make it happen.
Okay, here's the funny thing. My mother never told me about that, about the bathing suit thing. I'm going to have to call her up, see what's up with that. I actually grew up on the East Coast, spent quite a bit of time down the Jersey Shore. So it wasn't like we were in our bathing suits all the time. However, again, being like, a child of the 70s and 80s when I was growing up, there wasn't a real big conversation about that. But moving forward now, we're learning more. We're like, okay, we need to pay more attention to this stuff. Okay, so you've got the basics then behind you, and you're like, I think that this is an issue that I would like to potentially tackle. When you then, got back to the US, and started getting into, I guess, the entrepreneurial journey, what did that look like for you going from, I have this idea of something I want to do? How did you start then figuring out those steps along the way to create these wonderful, wonderful bikinis, which, by the way, guys, I will let you know, full disclosure, they did send me a wonderful little gift basket or a gift box so I can try them out. And they're pretty freaking fantastic. Let me tell you, I'll hold them up here. They're
Oh,
so soft and
yay.
cute. And not only that, the packaging, you guys, okay? The packaging itself. Wait, here's a new one. It gives you the rundown on everything that's going on about the company, why they're doing what they do, and everything is compostable from the packaging to the panties. I mean, I'm in love with that. But that's the end result I'm seeing. So you get back here, how did you start figuring out how you were going to do all these wonderful things, like to create these undergarments that were going to change the world?
I think it was a lot of research and a lot of, yeah, I'll say I spent so much time researching materials, trims, calling a lot of people and asking favors for help with product development because I don't come from a product background myself. And so I want, especially with underwear and bras, anything that sits close to the body requires such technical expertise. So I wanted to find someone who could help me bring this vision to life in that technical respect. So finding that person, finding a factory that would take a chance on a small business who was just starting, required a lot of visits. So I think all in all, it took over a year, probably a year and a half plus, from putting pen to paper, developing our first samples and trying them on, making tweaks, and then eventually coming up with what we'd like to do. And we have pivoted a couple times. We did actually start with organic silk loungewear. And then pivoted to what we are now in 2020 as I wanted something that, yeah, everyone could enjoy, a very like beautiful cotton product that was missing in the underwear drawer, and talking to hundreds of women about their underwear and what they felt was missing. And I felt also that the like what I call weekend underwear, like your fancy Friday underwear, was taken care of, but no one was looking at the Monday through Friday. What do you want to wear that's comfortable, that you actually want to reach for in the morning, that you're excited that that pair is clean and from the laundry? So yeah, a lot of, I'd say, research in the beginning, talking to other women, and just knocking on doors to try and find those first few partners that believed in my vision and believed in me to take a chance on working with someone small.
What did you call it? Your fancy Friday?
I mean, it's not a strict term that I have, but yeah, your fancy weekend underwear where you might want to wear something extra special, or I don't know, you need something that will maybe fit under a specific type of dress or something like that.
It's
So
totally true. I mean, it's funny because my underwear, I have the most gigantic underwear drawer. And, when, let's say my boyfriend at the time would say, he goes, why do you have so much underwear? I'm like, well, you need it for different outfits and different, events and things like that. But the truth is, it's like, yes, we have our fancy Friday underwear, but girl, we all come home and we put on the comfy
yeah.
panty, the soft, cotton panty. And it's funny because there's actually a commercial that one of the food delivery services doing, like where it's this girl comes back from a date and she strips off all that stuff and she just puts on her comfy clothes, her comfy comfy underwear, her comfy sweats. And I'm like, look, this is where we spend 90% of our
Yes.
day. That other underwear, kind of out there. Now, speaking of it, it is so super soft. I've like been holding it up to my face. So you actually use something called Supima cotton. What made you choose that over something like bamboo? Because bamboo had this huge moment. Everything, in the world was bamboo, bamboo, and it is very silky and soft. But God, I'm still a cotton girl. So tell me about this specific fabric and why you chose it.
So we chose Supima cotton because it's one of my favorite cottons out there. It's long staple, which means that it does have a silky smooth, natural feel to it, and it has beautiful bounce and recovery because we don't use any elastane or stretch. That was really important to allow the garments to be able to like fit on a body but still retain their shape. And it just feels amazing. It's definitely a premium type of cotton. But we've chosen it because we do understand that people care about what is on their body and want it to feel great. We didn't actually consider bamboo because while the plant itself is sustainably harvested because it does require such minimal water, the actual processing of bamboo into a fiber and then into a finished textile is quite chemically intensive. And so we wanted to stay away from that process. And cotton, while it is a thirsty crop, I always see sustainability as trade-offs. Nothing is 100% perfect. I do love cotton because it can be regeneratively grown. And ours, the way that we've created the entire product, does return back to the soil. My vision is perhaps one day to have our own cotton farm where it is fully circular, where our cotton underwear will eventually go back into the cotton farm. So that in and of itself, I think feeling a lot of different materials, I think you just need to touch and feel and experiment to understand what's going to work best for your product type. But at the end of the day, I think the health benefits of cotton and the luxuriousness of this specific Supima cotton just made me fall in love with it and want to use it.
I totally agree on that. In fact, when you were saying about having your own farm and everything returns to the earth, I just had this my inside vision of these rainbows and unicorns life that I truly believe that we can somehow return to the earth, getting away from all of this industrial production and pollution that we see. It can happen. And with, founders like you that are really looking at this and trying to figure things out, there is that future. We just have to work together on it. But with that said, what was kind of some of the hardest parts of the prototype journey? Because when you have these new ideas that haven't been done before, how do you go about that? From finding your suppliers to finding the manufacturing, facilities that actually can do what you want to. Because when I've talked to other founders in the past on other shows, one of the things they bring up is that, I had this idea, and then when I brought it to the manufacturing plant, they wanted to do it a different way. And, I had to either go somewhere else or we had to figure out a way for them to do it the way I wanted to. So did you experience that as well, where there were certain systems that you literally had to change from the ground up?
Yes. And I did something which now I know is very unusual in the apparel sector, where I actually oversaw the entire supply chain and operations process myself, where I ordered the thread, I ordered the elastics, I ordered the fabric, and I kind of assembled everything, all the trims, and had it delivered to a local factory in Los Angeles. And there we worked together to prototype to see how it could be manufactured at scale. Where in comparison, what a lot of apparel brands do is they will place an order with a factory. The factory will order all of the trims and everything, all the fabric. So it's kind of a little bit of a black box, and the brand will just see the finished product. So that was how we started, and it was very inefficient, but it was an incredible learning experience. And as you said, I think I needed to step into that role in order to show our manufacturer that this can happen. And it definitely took a lot of pushback, they had to change the machines that they use. Their process was a little bit slower working with us than other brands, just in terms of like stitches per minute. But at the end of the day, I think they trusted the vision that I had and were also excited by it. And they felt like they were learning something new. So I think that's important, is finding the right partners that see your vision and are willing to experiment with you, because at the end of the day, you need someone who has that open mind if you're trying to do things different.
I love that you're helping these other businesses discover new ways to do better business, essentially. So the things that you worked on with them as far as this new way of manufacturing or new systems, they can now actually use with other customers, which is great. That innovation and that shared knowledge, I think, is so important, which just makes this brand even better in my eyes, that you were able to do that. I think that's just so cool. Going back to, okay, so if you guys aren't watching the YouTube video, you have to jump over there, because I am holding up the packaging again. I need to read this to you guys because this is such a big promise, but I love it. All right, you ready? This isn't just underwear, it's a plastic-free clothing revolution. Soft on skin, gentle on the planets, made from plants, zero thin synthetics, no toxic chemicals, no pesticides, certified organic, always. Made for you, not for landfills, designed to disappear on purpose. Wear it out, toss it in the compost, high against soil. Capture carbon, help reverse climate change. This is wearing slow composting. What's the last word on that? Slow composting, we'll just say fabric. This is circular by design. Stacey, do you stand behind all of this? Is this what's truly happening here?
Yes, 100%. And I'm so excited by this product and what we're doing, because I'm so excited that you're excited, because I know composting, it's such a like old practice, an old way of doing things, but I feel like it's coming around and it's having a moment where people are understanding how powerful composting is. And no one in the apparel sector has really looked at it as this afterlife opportunity. So yes, 100%, we stand by everything. We've done third-party testing of our products in compost. We've had customers compost our products. And for us, it's so important that everything we do is through that like manifesto lens on our packaging, and we will never launch a product that we can't stand behind that checks all those boxes. So it's made product development slower in some respects, and more challenging, but we're getting better and better all the time.
Well, we've actually talked about composting a lot on this show. In fact, a few episodes back, we talked to a gentleman named Andrew Hargis, who has a company called the Compost Club, where you can order home composting kits. And it's like the subscription model, and it just keeps sending you, refills for your bags and stuff. But it makes it so easy because it's literally like an an on-counter system that you can have for apartments, which is what I'm in. And I love that. And I watched the video on, I think it was your YouTube or on your website, where it shows you, what to do. You take your underwear, you cut it up, you can put it in the compost bin. Okay, so I'm wearing the panties right now, full disclosure again. I can't wait to wear them out so that I can compost them. I mean, I know it's supposed to be slow fashion, but I'm also interested to see that happen. But, this sounds like so much fun, just the whole process of it. But, the entrepreneurial journey sometimes cannot be fun, but you get help along the way. So I read that you were part of something called a Tory Burch Fellow. What was that about?
Yeah, so the Tory Burch Fellowship is a program that is still happening. And I was part of it for one of their terms. Essentially, they offer, um, at the time, but pre-COVID, they offered an in-person session where you meet 50 other entrepreneurs, and all women. You have discussions and workshops from experts, and afterwards you're part of their fellowship community for life. And it's been such an incredible opportunity where I not only get the chance to connect with other entrepreneurs and learn from them and also share my experiences, but they connect us with experts across so many different topics in the industry, whether it's product development, finance, marketing, operations. They really do provide this level of access and guidance that makes you feel like you have a team in your corner and you can turn to if you have questions, as everyone does throughout their entrepreneurial journey. It changes every day, every hour, but it's been such a fantastic experience that I recommend any female founder to apply when they open every year, because it truly has made me feel supported throughout my business journey.
And that's so true. Like finding people actually in the business world that you can speak to one on one is so important. I know, a lot of times we just like live in that world. Like I'll just search it on Google and figure it out. But having, access to people who have done the process or know how to do certain things, and have that one on one conversation is so important. So whether it's a fellowship like, the Tory Burch one or other ones, like I always recommend to people out there that want to start a business, like talk to other people that have already done it, hear their experience and see if they maybe have, some kind of contacts or suggestions for you, because it's such a great idea in the shower, but then it's like, well, how does it get made? And not only that, my one of my favorite parts of the conversation is who pays for it, when
Yeah.
we're doing prototypes, that's not cheap, especially, when you're starting out on your own or it's kind of just like this new idea. So, let's get into that part of it. Like, where did you start getting either backing or financing or, the money to even start prototyping?
So everything's been bootstrapped, literally savings. And I think we took a slow process because of that. It's not like I had an idea and I spent tens of thousands of dollars on rapid prototyping. It took a while because it was all self-funded. I was working at the time, and so it was very much a nights and weekends side hustle. And my job was funding the development of the business. And it wasn't until 2022 that we did take on some external financing of angel investments. Again, not a huge amount, but a really passionate group of angels that believed in our mission, loved what we stood for, and gave us a little bit of a leap forward in order to invest mostly in inventory because we were selling out so quickly. So that was obviously a good problem to have. But no one ever wants to leave kind of money on the table. And so it really, I'd say that was a good inflection point for us where we did get some outside funding.
Well, that's always a great thing to hear, selling out. Of course, sometimes if you sell out too quickly, it becomes a mad rush to, well, how are we going to do this again? So tell me about that. So once you had a product you were ready for people to try, what was the next step? Because this isn't necessarily something you would take to a farmer's market like many of my other guests have done with other products. What was your next step then to actually get it in the hands of people? Did you launch online? Did you already have a partnership? Like, how did people start becoming aware of Kent and these beautiful undergarments?
We have actually been at the farmer's market, which was really fun, up in Ojai. We don't do it anymore, but we did at one point, and it was really fun. But so the first launch point for us was actually a Kickstarter in 2019, and we generated a lot of buzz through that. It gave us a vote of confidence that people wanted this type of product. And so that was, I believe, end of summer 2019. We reached our goal, and then we launched the actual products a year later, in June 2020. A little unoptimal timing because of the pandemic. I mean, turns out it was okay. But yeah, I'd say that was our first exposure to the customer was through that platform.
Listen, pandemic or not, we still got to wear panties. I mean,
That's true.
I think it's recession and pandemic proof that we are always going to need some kind of undergarments. So, when you first did start getting it out into the public, what were the initial reactions? Did you find that there was a lot of educational that you had to do, or what was the messaging like to get people on board with the fact like, hey, this is totally natural and Supina cotton and it's compostable? Like, did people care?
I think the small group of people cared, a small passionate group of people who are just very conscious of what materials they wear. And that group gave us amazing feedback where they were saying the same things that I was saying. Oh my God, I haven't been able to find 100% cotton underwear, let alone 100% organic cotton underwear that is cute. Um, and so I think a lot of them were really excited by that. And then kind of having the cherry on top being, oh, and it's actually compostable when you're done with it. So that's incredible too. But I do think, to your point, like there's so much education that needs to happen because the industry has been the exact opposite for so long. And people are used to no panty lines, very seamless, crazy bright colors, and insane stretch. It's like, okay, you have to train your body to feel this new natural underwear in a different way. I will say it feels different. It's not seamless because we can't figure that out just yet. It's on our radar to try and figure out. Seamless underwear is just, I think, 100% synthetic. They laser cut it. But I've grown to love panty lines, or I choose the thong if I don't want panty lines. So yes, I think education, a huge part of it, even now to this day.
I think we have a new marketing campaign in the works about embracing your panty lines. Now, I
Yeah.
don't have a cute tagline for it yet, but I think it's something we need to brainstorm because I think that that would be a great idea. You're right. With anything that's laser cut, it's because it's a synthetic fabric that literally they're able to do that laser cutting with that kind of lays against you, but not always the best. So it's funny because, I'll just say back in the day, you would see lines, you would see panty lines, you would see bra lines, and it was acceptable. And then suddenly we got into this whole, like, I don't know, point in our evolution where it's like you can't see anything. Like it had to be hidden. And you're like,
Yeah.
why? Like we all know that we wear, well, I mean, hopefully you're wearing underwear. I don't know. But I mean, it's one of those things that almost became like it had to be hidden in secret, which was always like really strange to me. But I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of the first things I noticed. It's like, oh, it actually, you can see the binding, the elastic band or whatever. It's not hidden, but it was almost made it cuter. Like I was like, oh, I really like this. I like that feeling of wearing something natural, especially like with the little shelf bra that I tried, which was great, and the little crop top, super, super comfy. And the fact that you are both doing both a men's and women's line. In fact, they could both be unisex at this point. I love that,
Yeah.
that cross, purpose there. So you don't feel like so lumped into certain categories. So, with these, various undergarments that you're doing now, how much of it, so first of all, I think it really ties in with what people are looking for. Definitely with the new generations, they like this very minimal look, it's not always about the lace or the trim and all of that. But when you're doing product development, really, how are you coming about that? Like, where do you look for maybe new ideas? Is it customer feedback at this point, or is it just stuff that, because you have a relatively small product line, that you're just adding like kind of layer by layer to what you want to do?
I think it's definitely both of those where I love hearing from our customers and what they want and what they need, especially the ones that are so enthusiastic about our mission and will say, oh, it'd just be amazing if you could offer this. Or, so I think it's from our customers, also just looking at how do we make like a nice rounded assortment of products that isn't over skewed. As you said, we're a small brand and we can only develop so much. And I really want what we do offer to be the essentials. And I know what essential can be different for different people. And so offering enough style variation where different bodies can wear different things and feel great, for both men and women. And so I think for us, getting that core down is really important. And then we can start to experiment with colors. We'll be launching a new fabric later this year, which is something I'm excited about. And so I think it's also personally, like what do I feel like is missing in the market? Like right now I'm a second time new mom. I have an 8-month-old baby. I'm breastfeeding, so that's also very top of mind for me, about what is on my body and subsequently what I'm exposing my new baby to. So there might be something in that world also in the works.
Well, definitely the mommy category. There are so many products you can have in there. I also want to add the athletic category because I am a runner. I would like a nice little racer back. If you wouldn't mind creating that for me, that would be great. Just something that I could use on my short runs, which would be awesome. I'd be very interested in things like that. And just, kind of wearing on a day to day too. I'm definitely not a girl. First of all, I'm very small breasted, so I don't need a lot of underwire and stuff like that. I like to have just something that is comfortable, a little bit of coverage, a little bit of support. And I really found that, with the scoop bra that you sent me to try, which I just loved. So I think that there's a lot of, market flexibility as far as like products could be both, like I guess athletic wear and leisure wear. And then, whatever you come in with the mom category, I know would be very, very well recepted. But one of the things I did want to talk about real quickly, the composting program that you guys are doing. So plant your pants, right? First of all, I love that for two things. Not only obviously the composting sector, but also because it's such a great marketing campaign, right? Is this something that you came up with on your own, this plant your pants, or is this something that you really developed with marketing? Like, hey, we could get the message out about this is, fully organic and compostable, and this is how you do it. And it's also kind of fun to say. So where did that whole campaign come from?
I'd say that was a conversation between myself, my co-founder, which is my husband, Jeff, and one of our advisors, Stacy, also Stacy. And the composting idea came through conversations between Jeff and I, where I was telling him like how important it was to have this entire line be so natural. And he was like, well, if it's so natural, can't we compost it? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, we can. Let's test it out. Let's see if it's possible. And then the actual verbiage of plant your pants, I think, just really speaks to how we see sustainability at Kent, where we don't want it to feel doom and gloom and like you're guilty for doing something because you choose to purchase a product or support a certain company. I think there's enough of that in the world about the downsides of every single product or every choice that we make. So how can we talk about it in a way that feels like positive and a bit more lighthearted? Because at the end of the day, this is underwear. And it's not something I think that has to be so serious, but the impact is so huge. So the idea of like planting your pants just felt like the perfect lighthearted gateway for some people to understand what composting is.
It is. And also it makes for great videos and great conversations on social media. So, talking about your marketing, are you finding that social media is one of the ways that you could really get your messaging out there? Or really, how are people finding out about Ken?
I'd say people are finding us through referrals, through SEO, and through affiliate marketing, are the three main levers right now. We're doing no paid acquisition right now. That will probably change, but we've been growing organically, which is pretty exciting. And I'd say social is such a tremendous playground for us right now where we can test different messaging to see what sticks. And because there is so much data that I think we want to share with our community, but also do it in a way that feels like our voice. We can test it through social, see what people respond to. We also try to find people in our community that want to be product testers that way or have opinions. So yeah, social is a huge platform or area for us to try and test our messaging and see what resonates.
Yeah, you're right. I think you can have so much fun with it too, getting people to try different things and initiatives and I don't want to call them dares or trends, but
Yeah.
getting people excited about it like, oh, we're about to plant our tomatoes. Are you using your Kent composting for your tomato gardens? Because I'm a tomato garden girl. I'm actually about in a couple of weeks to go get my little starter tomatoes for my garden. I'm very excited, my little plants. And potentially next year, I don't know, maybe, my Kent panties. Well, no, they're going to last longer than a year.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of years, right? Yeah, this isn't like a year kind of thing, guys. They don't
No.
like disintegrate when
No.
they're on you or anything. But it's such a fun conversation and journey along the way, and it's definitely something people are talking about. It's not just me. I know I'm not the crazy one. Mom, are you listening? I'm not the crazy one on this.
Have any feedback? Like, I'm always open to if something's not right, like we're still tweaking things,
Yeah.
and always fixing. So, yeah.
I will let you know. Nothing that kind of comes to mind, but I will just let you know. So I am 55. Okay.
Okay.
I always like to, when I get sample products like that, I always like to give it to some of my friends to like, get their feedback on it. So I gave part of the package to a 25-year-old friend of mine, a girl,
Yeah.
just because I'm like, well, what do you think about this? Right.
Yeah.
She was so excited. She was so excited
Aw.
from like just knowing what the whole brand messaging was about to trying. She's like, this is great. Like, so like really just
Aw.
far as like cross like generations, it was really working. Me 55, she's 25. We both kind of got it. She loved the feel of it. She tried to, some of the panties on. In fact, I gave her the crop top. And I think it was like the real high cut panties she really liked. So that
Cool.
was great. So yeah, it was really, really cool.
Nice. I'm so happy to hear. Yeah, I know. I feel like we span like so many demographics because it is like, yeah, your basics. Everyone wears underwear and everyone wants to wear good, clean underwear. So, yeah.
All right. So, obviously the entrepreneur journey is always full of ups and downs along the way. So, we always like to have our guests share, something that happened that maybe was awesome and surprising and good, and maybe something that you encountered that was like, huh, I didn't realize that was going to come up. How do I deal with that? So, kind of give us that little juxtaposition of highs and lows for you.
Sure. So something exciting for us, well, I think would be when we went on Shark Tank. It felt like our product isn't the typical product to be or company to be featured on Shark Tank. Oftentimes they're not apparel driven, they're more CPG products. So for us, it was such a amazing journey to really refine our brand story. We were the first pitch on the show, and it was the first ever live Shark Tank episode. So that was just such like an interesting pressure cooker of an experience that obviously had us exposed to so many people that we otherwise would never have the opportunity to. The reach of that show is just huge. And then to have the kind of opportunity to discuss with all the sharks in the room and have their feedback on our business. So that was really incredible. Something that hasn't gone our way, I'd say we did set up, so back to our composting, we did set up a compost club, a take back program for people who don't have access to a compost, which in America is common. I know things are changing, but not everyone does. And so we wanted to still offer that as an outlet. And we had this incredible partner who decided again to take a chance on us and take our products after we kind of sanitize them, shred them, prepare them for compost, and do the larger composting for us on a farm. Once we had that set up, I was very excited. And then probably a couple months later, they shut down their farm and moved to another state. So they moved out of California. And so that was really heartbreaking because I loved this partner. She really felt like she understood the mission, and it was almost a no-brainer for her, the woman who ran this farm, where she was like, oh yeah, I get it. Bring all the products and we can do this for you. So finding a new partner, I would say, took a long time. And it's very unusual to be composting garments, let alone underwear. A lot of questions. Not everyone's willing to take a chance. So restarting that kind of program and take back was really important to me. And again, I think it just took conversations, finding the right people who believed in the vision, and adjusting our operations slightly in order to accommodate the new partner.
It's true. It's like sometimes when partnerships end for whatever reason, you're like, oh, how am I going to find somebody else? And you know what? Truthfully, there's always someone else. You just have to make those connections. So I'm glad that that is still part of the conversation because I think that's also an awesome idea. A little bit of logisticals going on in there, but you're right. Not everybody has access to composting. And the more they get familiar with it, the more comfortable they'll be with it, you know, in all aspects of it. Luckily for me, living in West Hollywood, we have a citywide composting program. So we have a bin that's available to all residences, whether you're in an apartment building or single family home, and you just throw anything in the composting bin that's compostable. And then they just take it away for you. So we don't have to worry about, you know, storing or what are we going to do with the compost afterwards? Or how do you turn it into actual compost? Because it's one thing to throw it in the bin. It's a little couple more steps to make it actual compost. So, you know, I love that, you know, that there's citywide things like that, but you're right. For other people who don't have access to that, it's a little bit more educational. Like, how do you do that? But, you know, we're getting there. We're getting there. And listen, I think social media, for all of the flack that it gets, I think in a lot of ways really helps people learn about things like that. And I love it for that. So, you know, I'm still very pro social media for many reasons. But with that said, I know that people listening to the show want to check out your product, want to see what it's all about. So tell everyone where they can find you. And I think you said earlier we might have a discount code, which I'm excited about.
Yes, so you can find us at wearkent.com. That's wearkent.com. Our socials also at wearkent. On Instagram is where we're most active right now. And we did want to offer a special discount code for everyone listening. So you can type in Wild Party at checkout and receive $10 off your order.
Thank you so much. That is so nice. And you know what? I totally forgot earlier in the conversation. I didn't ask you about the name. First, I want to tell you my theory on where you got the name Kid, okay? I hope I'm close. Does it have anything to do with Superman changing out of his clothes?
You're right.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You're right. Yeah.
I didn't. I swear to God, guys, I didn't read that anywhere. It totally just popped into my head. So we're thinking the same thing.
Yes. So yeah, Superman, one of my favorite superheroes. He's saving the world. That's his mission. He's the only one that takes his garments off to become his super self. So yeah. You're very you're in touch.
You are my sister from another mister. I mean, when your PR team reached out to me and they told me about this, I'm like, oh, this sounds amazing. And then when I got to try it, I'm like, I love this. And then, yeah, I mean, we're on the same wavelength here. And I'm so excited you did this. Totally support it. Can't wait to see where this goes in the future. And yeah, Stacey, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and telling us what it's all about to truly start your own business in a very sustainable and natural way.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure chatting.
Thanks for listening to the Wild Party podcast. If you're an entrepreneur or professional who would like to be on this podcast, please visit boomtownmarketing.com and click on podcast. We believe that every business has the potential to change the world for good, and we want to support our community to help make the world more ethical, compassionate, and sustainable for all future generations to come. And if you're looking to build your business, no matter what level you're at now, request your free marketing consultation at boomtownmarketing.com and click Get Started.